What's the reason you have been banned from an establishment such as a shop, bad, restaurant, cafe, etc.? Got banned from the mall when I was younger because I wore an inappropriate shirt that I bought in the mall. Was banned from a mall arcade when I was a kid for holding all the whack-a-moles down. I got mistaken for somebody else whilst on holiday a few years back. I popped into a local shop to grab a sandwich and drink, and a staff member forcefully marched over to me and yelled, "You're not allowed in here. I've told you before," as she grabbed my sandwich and bottle of water from me and put them back. I of course tried to protest and explained that I had never been in there before and was a visitor to the area, but she gestured for the security guard to come over to escort me out and stood watching us from a distance with her arms folded and a smug look on her face, occasionally shouting, "If she doesn't go, I'm calling the police." Quote. Thankfully the security guard was a little more understanding about the situation and happily looked at my driving license, which proved I lived in a different area. I offered to show it, but said, "Perhaps it would be best if you didn't come in here again." Quote. Taking pictures of produce and price signs at a small grocery store while shopping. I was just trying to keep track of which stores had which food at cheaper prices so I could plan my shopping trips. This is how I got banned from Chuck E. Cheese. I figured out that I could take a ball from the game where you shoot the clown's teeth and use it at the skee-ball machine. The skee-ball machine would count the points but not the ball used, which enabled me to play forever with just one ball and max out the machine. I did it on 2 skee-ball machines before someone noticed and I got banned, kicked out. I was doing a history project on Poland, and it was well known this teacher gave an extra letter grade for bringing in food from the country. A friend from my previous school brought me to a bakery that made colas that his family loved. I ordered one for my class, paying a deposit and specifying the day I was due to present. I ran in before school to get my order, and the woman behind the counter, the manager, told me that whoever took my order never sent it. There was no colas in the store. Despite me presenting my invoice and pointing out the date they agreed to have it, she refused to refund my deposit on the basis, "We can make you one for tomorrow." I had to call the credit card company and dispute the charge that way. A few days later, my friend called me and asked why we were both banned from the bakery. You stubbed your toe really bad. What's the first thing coming out of her mouth? A scream. Like "Aw yeah!" Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. A loud grunt. Javla helvet. Fuck. Fucking motherfucker. God damn it. Son of a bitch. I will fucking chop you up, you son of a bitch, just like the tree you are made from, you goddamn doorframe. An indecipherable onslaught of rapid swears slurring together as if to summon demons from the pits of hell, if not Satan himself. Upside down face. What is something commonly refrigerated, but actually doesn't need to be? Tomatoes. Those 2-month-old leftovers hiding in the back in the takeout container. Half these things mentioned do go bad but are commonly eaten before they spoil. I refrigerate all of them because I go through food so slowly. To everyone saying eggs. In the US you have to refrigerate eggs. You don't always in Europe. Pickles, but they're much better if they are onions or potatoes. Honestly, most produce doesn't necessarily need to go in the fridge, but it does help it last longer. Redditors who used the internet back when it was still considered a new thing. What is something kids these days will never get to experience? When students understood the internet and teachers did not. There was a brief golden age of plagiarism. I miss the feeling of community that there used to be around small, niche forums in the pre-Reddit days. You really got to know the other users in a way that you can't on the modern internet juggernauts. Discord is probably the closest modern equivalent. But even then it just doesn't feel the same. The little dial-up sounds. Spending hours asking Jeeves for cool new websites and then spending even more hours on those websites. Screaming, "Mom, get off the phone. My movie is still downloading. It only has 8 days left." Waiting hours for something to download. Then a family member picks up the phone and ruins it. Men who are sure of not wanting kids. What's stopping you from getting a vasectomy? There is no need. You can't have kids if you don't have sex. I was lazy. Finally had it done. Glad I did. Was over in like 5 minutes. Was an absolutely horrible experience, but I blame the doctor. As a person who has had one done, I have asked this question to a few people too. The most common answer I hear is, "I don't have $1,000 to pay for it." Followed up by a close second of, "My insurance won't cover it," or, "I don't have insurance." Still waiting for that drive to have kids that everyone talks about. 37 years old and no drive. Same with my wife. If no drive on my 40th birthday, I'm getting the snip so the wife can get off hormonal birth control. I pursued a vasectomy in my early 30s and had 2 doctors tell me I was too young and might change my mind later. Never mind that I was, and still am, happily married to a woman that also doesn't want kids. Kind of gave up after that. But been thinking about trying again recently. The fact that I can never, no matter how hard I try, get my husband pregnant. There was an episode of The Twilight Zone where a woman could freeze time by yelling, "Shut up." In the end, she had frozen time with nuclear weapons about to hit the ground. Essentially stuck in eternity. Alone. Given that scenario, would you stay alone of unfreeze time? What are your reasons? Remain alone with an entire world to pay in. Once I died, the time freeze would stop. I am guessing. And nuke the world so that it could start over again fresh and new. Well, you have clear trigger words, start talking and shut up. So we know what works. I'd begin experimenting with other words in the hope I find a word that rewinds time. It would be like, "Take me back." Rewind, or, "I need more time." Then the question is, would you rewind by a day, weeks, or back to the time you found the pendant? Not sure how much time has passed with freezing and if it would be enough to work on some peace. Cause. If you want peace, I'd love to see a original owner story. Why did someone bury it? The box didn't look ancient. Did the owner freeze time? Take it off and walk off and went on till she died? Does death of the owner even have an effect, or is time stuck? I thought for a second we would see someone move like the Phase episode of Star Trek. Stay alive. Disassemble missiles. Prevent nuclear apocalypse. I'd unfreeze eventually. What's the point of keeping it like that forever? No one else is living their lives while it's frozen. So at least unfreezing, though it would kill many, might let some others continue their lives. I don't know the scale of the attack. Does it affect whole planet? Is there a possibility for some to survive? Etc. I would pack my frozen ass family into the car and get to some kind of shelter. I think the typical response would be to keep time frozen for some period. And unfreeze eventually. The variation would come from how long people would keep time frozen. Based on how I handled quarantine, I bet I'd keep it frozen for at least a half-decade. Maybe even longer. I think, as far as people go, I need significantly less interaction than the average person. That said, I'm not so completely fucked in the head that I could live the rest of my life with absolutely zero interaction with another living thing. Yeah. I'd probably start traveling the continent. Maybe the world, depending on how the physics of the time stop work. Can I still operate vehicles? Would an airplane work if I can learn to fly it? Once I'd traveled far and felt satisfied, I'd unfreeze time.
Subscribe, my brothers.